Welcome to our show, Immigration Briefing. Today, we dive into the rising anxiety among immigrants in Chicago as they brace for potential mass deportations under President-elect Trump. Community leaders are stepping up, urging residents to stay informed about their rights and prepare for any unforeseen circumstances. It's a challenging time, but support networks are mobilizing to provide legal resources and assistance. In another story, we highlight the distressing experience of Maria Juliana Marquez Monsalve, a Colombian woman who found herself stranded in Brazil after an airline refused her boarding due to confusion over her valid eVisa. This incident sheds light on the ongoing challenges faced by travelers amidst the transition to digital immigration documents, leaving many feeling anxious and unsupported. It's a reminder of the importance of awareness and understanding in our increasingly digital world. Lastly, we explore Trump's sweeping immigration plans as he prepares for his second term. With promises of mass deportations and stricter entry requirements, the implications for undocumented immigrants and sanctuary cities are significant. As tensions rise, many are left wondering how these policies will unfold and what it means for the future of immigration in the U.S. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. The Globe and Mail reports on the escalating anxiety within the immigrant community in Chicago as they brace for potential mass deportation arrests under President-elect Donald Trump. Reverend Homero Sanchez, who serves a predominantly Mexican congregation, has witnessed firsthand the deep-seated fear among his parishioners, many of whom have begun making contingency plans in case they are detained. This includes assigning power of attorney to trusted friends and installing security cameras at their homes. With federal immigration officers targeting over 300 individuals with serious criminal records, the atmosphere has grown increasingly tense, especially since Trump has signaled that mass deportations will be a priority. Community leaders, including Cardinal Blase Cupic, have expressed their dismay at the looming operations, emphasizing the city's proud legacy of immigration. In a similar vein, the Associated Press highlights the sense of urgency felt by Chicago's immigrants as they prepare for the anticipated deportation actions. The article underscores that many immigrants are experiencing a resurgence of fear reminiscent of past crackdowns, leading to proactive measures such as legal workshops and community rallies aimed at educating immigrants about their rights. Local leaders, including Mayor Brandon Johnson, have pledged to protect the city's immigrant population, while advocacy groups are mobilizing to ensure that residents remain informed and calm amidst the uncertainty. The impending actions are particularly concerning in a city that has long identified as a sanctuary for immigrants, with local policies that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Meanwhile, The Independent shares the distressing story of Maria Juliana Marquez Monsalve, who found herself stranded in Brazil after airline staff refused to accept her eVisa. Despite having gone through security and checked in for her flight back to the UK, she was barred from boarding due to her British residence permit nearing expiration. This incident reflects the broader challenges faced by travelers navigating the transition to digital immigration documents, as many airport staff remain unaware of the new eVisa protocols. After spending over £750 on alternative flights, Maria's experience highlights the confusion and stress that can arise from immigration policy changes, leaving her feeling mistreated and anxious. Her husband corroborated her account, emphasizing that she should have been allowed to travel, reinforcing the need for clearer communication and training regarding the new immigration processes. Associated Press reports on Donald Trump's ambitious plans for a second term, showcasing a blend of traditional conservative policies and a populist approach. Central to his agenda is a dramatic overhaul of immigration, proposing the largest mass deportation program in history and calling for measures like ideological screening for immigrants and the reinstatement of the Remain in Mexico policy. On abortion, Trump has downplayed its significance, focusing instead on state-level regulations after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. His tax policies favor corporations and the wealthy while proposing exemptions for certain wages aimed at the working and middle classes. Trump's trade strategy is marked by skepticism towards global markets, advocating for tariffs on foreign goods and prioritizing American-made products. He also aims to roll back protections for LGBTQ citizens and dismantle diversity programs, showcasing a significant shift in civil rights policies. South China Morning Post reflects on the alarming resurgence of ethno-nationalism and militaristic expansionism reminiscent of the 1920s and 1930s, drawing parallels to contemporary political movements. The article warns of a return to divisive propaganda and the erosion of civil society, highlighting the dangers of populist leaders who exploit economic discontent to channel resentment towards minority groups. It notes the historical context of geopolitical ambitions that led to catastrophic conflicts, emphasizing the need for unity and cooperation in addressing global challenges like climate change. The piece calls for a new generation of leaders who prioritize collaboration over confrontation, advocating for solutions that embrace diversity rather than succumbing to divisive nationalism. CBC shares the heartbreaking story of Ismail Adam, a Sudanese Canadian whose family remains trapped in the midst of a devastating conflict in Sudan. Despite applying for a Canadian government program designed to facilitate the safe relocation of families, Adam has faced frustrating delays and a lack of response, raising concerns about potential racial bias in the immigration process. The article highlights the dire humanitarian crisis in Sudan, where millions are displaced and facing extreme food insecurity. Comparisons are drawn to Canada's more expedited responses to refugee crises from Syria and Ukraine, with critics questioning the apparent double standard in treatment of Sudanese refugees. As Adam anxiously awaits news, he implores the Canadian government to act swiftly to bring his family to safety, fearing for their lives amidst the ongoing turmoil. The Toronto Star reports on a significant move by America First Legal, a group aligned with Trump, which sent ominous letters to over 200 officials in sanctuary jurisdictions just before Christmas. These letters warned of potential criminal prosecutions and lawsuits, invoking serious legal threats that could lead to prison time for officials who resist federal immigration enforcement. The targets included prominent figures like Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey, who had publicly vowed to oppose mass deportations. The letters are seen as part of a broader legal strategy to undermine sanctuary policies, which have been upheld by courts but are now under renewed scrutiny as the Trump administration prepares for aggressive immigration enforcement. In an insightful piece by the South China Morning Post, the complexities of immigrant integration in Britain are explored, highlighting the country's long history as a nation of immigrants. The author reflects on their personal experience of enrolling their children in a Church of England school, suggesting that integration often involves navigating cultural norms and expectations. Despite the challenges, the UK has been relatively successful in integrating immigrants, with studies showing that ethnic minorities report high levels of belonging. The article emphasizes that British culture remains dominant, even as new arrivals adapt and adopt local customs, illustrating the dynamic interplay between immigration and cultural identity. Al Jazeera covers the incoming Trump administration's aggressive plans for immigration enforcement, with officials indicating that large-scale operations to detain and deport undocumented immigrants will commence immediately following the inauguration. Tom Homan, the newly appointed border czar, stated that these operations would not be classified as raids but rather targeted enforcement actions, with cities like Chicago and New York being primary targets. The administration aims to reinstate strict measures, including withholding funds from sanctuary cities, while immigrant rights groups prepare for the anticipated crackdown. The article also notes the contrasting atmosphere of protests against Trump's inauguration, reflecting the ongoing tensions surrounding his immigration policies and their implications for communities across the country. New York Times, in the face of significant legal challenges, India's relationship with the United States has proven resilient, as highlighted by the recent accusations against Indian agents related to an assassination plot and fraud charges against a prominent business mogul. Despite these incidents, U.S. Ambassador Eric Garcetti asserts that nothing can derail the growing ties between the two nations, emphasizing the strength and inevitability of their relationship. This newfound partnership, once marred by mutual suspicion, showcases a remarkable evolution, with both countries now focused on unprecedented expansions in defense and technology. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, as Donald Trump prepares for his second term, he has laid out an ambitious agenda centered around immigration reform, economic tariffs, and a controversial approach to foreign policy. Trump has promised the largest deportation program in U.S. history and intends to implement significant tariffs on imports, particularly targeting China. Additionally, he has expressed intentions to reshape U.S. relations with Ukraine and other nations, advocating for a more aggressive stance that could lead to economic repercussions for countries that do not comply with his demands. His plans also include potential pardons for those involved in the January 6 Capitol riots, further illustrating his controversial approach to governance. Guardian, Mark Zuckerberg's recent shift in corporate strategy reflects a deeper alignment with Donald Trump's political ideology, as he adapts Meta's policies to avoid conflict with the new administration. After dining with Trump, Zuckerberg announced sweeping changes to how content is moderated on his platforms, allowing more leeway for derogatory comments on sensitive topics while dismantling diversity initiatives. This pivot not only illustrates the challenges of content moderation in a profit-driven environment but also signals a concerning trend where the tech industry may increasingly cater to extremist views under political pressure. Zuckerberg's transformation into a more aggressive corporate leader highlights the precarious balance between business interests and societal responsibility in the evolving landscape of social media. CBC, in the face of rising immigration fraud, Edmonton entrepreneur Kemi Bolotito-Bello has taken a proactive stance by launching Schooly, an AI-driven platform designed to connect international students and immigrants with verified immigration experts and educational institutions. Bolotito-Bello, who pivoted from her existing businesses to focus on immigration law after earning a diploma and certification, recognized the urgent need for solutions as numerous students faced removal from Canada due to fraudulent admission letters. Her initiative comes at a time when Ottawa is also stepping up its regulatory measures to combat fraud, with a recent survey indicating that 90% of newcomers believe immigration consultants should be better regulated. Legal experts like Manraj Sidhu emphasize the need for improved protections for victims of fraud, as many are currently viewed as complicit in the crime, leaving them vulnerable and without recourse. Al Jazeera, President-elect Donald Trump has made bold promises for his first day back in office, vowing to act decisively on various issues including immigration, government restructuring, and regulatory rollbacks. During a recent town hall, Trump indicated he would launch an extensive deportation program, reminiscent of his previous term, and reinstate the controversial travel ban targeting several Muslim-majority countries. His ambitious agenda also includes plans to restrict citizenship eligibility for the children of undocumented immigrants and to swiftly end ongoing conflicts, such as the war in Ukraine. Furthermore, Trump aims to create an external revenue service to manage tariffs and revenue from foreign sources, while threatening significant tariffs on Mexico and Canada if they fail to curb border crossings. His Day One proposals also encompass a wide range of deregulations, particularly in environmental policies, as he seeks to dismantle measures put in place by the Biden administration. CBC, the federal government's recent decision to have Manitoba's provincial nominee program slots has sparked outrage among local officials and businesses, who fear it will exacerbate labor shortages in the province. With only 4,750 nominations available this year, down from last year's allotment, Provincial Immigration Minister Malaya Marcelino criticized Ottawa for undermining a program that has been crucial for filling job vacancies in Manitoba. She had advocated for a higher quota, citing persistent labor needs, but the federal government is rolling back immigration targets to manage population growth and housing pressures, primarily affecting larger cities. Marcelino argued that Manitoba's situation is distinct and should not be penalized for national trends, as over 70% of the province's immigrants come through the nominee program. The province is now exploring ways to redirect economic immigrants to address its workforce demands effectively. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.